Charleston celebrates its 350th anniversary this year, and to commemorate that, Charleston Pirate Tours brings you Charleston History Highlights. Hi, Eric with Charleston Pirate Tours. I'm down here on Sullivan's Island along the beach on a beautiful evening. I want to share with you a story that I heard a long time ago about a strange encounter that a young lady had just out taking a stroll on the beach. This young lady's name was Carly Jones. And she was out here on vacation in 2005 with her family. And like all of us do when we go to the beach, we don't want to just stay in one spot. She decided to get up and walk around. So she's walking down the beach and sort of looking around for shells. And she came across a pretty cool looking shell, and she picked it up and was looking at it and thought, this is a strange looking shell. I would love to know more about it, because she was not exactly up on her shells, shall we say. And she noticed that there was a young man who was sort of standing off just a ways and was watching her. At first she thought he wasn't really dressed for a day at the beach, wearing some dark clothing. He had long black hair, dark eyes, and kind of made her feel a little uneasy. But then as he walked over, she said he had such a calm demeanor about him and such a pleasant voice. He just walked over and started talking to her and said, would you like to know a little bit more about that shell you found? And began to tell her details of the shell that she hadn't really seen, and why it's so smooth inside and the pink color. And she was just literally mesmerized by this guy while he was talking to her. And looking around, hoping to find another one she could ask him about, she spotted one, went to get it and picked it up and turned to get his opinion on that shell, and he was gone. Well, she didn't think much about it. She just went on back to the family, packed up her things later that afternoon, took her beach treasures with her, and went on back to the house they were renting. That evening they went out to dinner at a restaurant here on Sullivan's Island, and as they sat down to dinner and got their order taken, she was just sort of looking around the restaurant, and she noticed something. There was a picture hanging over the fireplace in the restaurant. And she couldn't help but notice how familiar that person was in that picture. So she walked over to get a better, closer look. And sure enough, she was looking at the portrait of the man she had spoken to about all those shells. So one of the waitstaff was walking by and she said, excuse me, can you tell me who that is on that picture? She said, sure, that's Edgar Allan Poe. Edgar Allan Poe was actually stationed at Fort Moultrie when he was in the Army in 1827. He was here for just a little over a year. Now, it is documented that while he was here, he became friends with people out here on the island, but nobody really knew who he was, because when he enlisted in the Army, he used the name Edgar Perry. But one of the people we know that he became friends with was a professor by the name of Edmund Ravenel. Now, Edmund Ravenel described himself as not just a professor, but a conchologist, a studier of seashells. And most likely the two of them had bonded over the study of shells. So Edgar knew a little bit about what he was talking about when he encountered this young lady on the beach. Of course, while he was here on Sullivan's Island at Fort Moultrie, he did a lot of writing. Probably the most famous short story, The Gold Bug, was written while he was here. And it was based on a true story that he found in the 1735 Charleston Gazette about a pirate ship that had crashed out off of Morris Island in a huge storm. The pirates drowned in the wreck. They were actually on their way to rendezvous with the captain of a Spanish galleon. Now the story goes that they had chosen to sneak up here and bury treasure on what was then known as Long Island. Today we call that Isle of Palms. The Spanish were eventually captured on a plantation near Georgetown. But guess what? The gold was never found. Probably one of the most haunting stories that he ever, or poems I should say, that he ever published. Said to have been published for the very first time in his hometown newspaper on the same page as his obituary. And of course, that's the one that goes, it was many a year ago in a kingdom by the sea. And it's the poem about Annabel Lee. We do believe that that Annabel Lee was actually Anna Ravenel, the daughter of Edmund Ravenel. Now, the kingdom by the sea, we do believe is Charleston. So you can see it had a great influence while he was here. The beach, the history, and a young lady. So next time you're walking the beach on Sullivan's Island, you happen to encounter some man, not exactly dressed for a day at the beach, but he seems to know a lot about shells. Maybe you're talking to old Edgar yourself. Happy birthday, Charleston.